Fruit Bat Factory. Paleontology. And then a Kabuto? It's SeaBed. In keeping with tradition, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know anything about this game, but judging from the look of it, it's going to be a bizarre visual novel from Japan. This is SeaBed. I think some creepy stuff goes on. I'm, of course, Seth Trav. Welcome to the show. Again, in keeping with tradition, don't know anything about the game, but we're going to try it out right now. Created by Paleontology. It's nice piano music. Very nice. Miyazaki-esque. Background Puku. Scenario illustrated Hideo 38. And script by Akira. Presented by Fruit Bat Factory. English translation by Conjurer Andrew. The light from the round moon broke into countless rays, wavering as it drew back. My head felt empty, as though I was submerged in water. My eyelids felt exceedingly heavy, and so did my entire body, languidly sinking into the bed. Even in the darkness, I could tell Sachiko, my childhood friend, was right there next to me. I'd known her for 23 years. I was 28 now, which meant I first met her when I was 5. That's some light math for you. My family moved that year. Our new house was only a 30-minute drive down the mountain from the old place, with a large supermarket behind it. There were no shops around where kids could spend their allowance, save for the occasional moving stall. Back in the day, I thought of my new place as a huge city, but that was far from the truth. We had a few buildings that exceeded 5 stories, and you could see both edges of our town, as well as the factory at the sea from the northern mountain. But the fact that there were fewer rice fields and more buildings compared to where I came from made it seem like a bustling city to my child's mind. On the day we moved, my mother drove back and forth between the city and the country many times. I got into the back seat of the car with the last of our luggage. Initially, we took the same road we did to reach my kindergarten, but once we had passed it, the roads turned fresh and alien. And seeing how we kept driving along the river, I somehow thought that perhaps I could make it back to the countryside on foot. Not that it mattered. As I lost myself in thought, I barely even noticed when we finally reached our destination. As our car blasted the few unfortunate pebbles off the parking lot, my mother told me that we had arrived. The parking lot was positioned right in front of our new home, its white lines, denoting where the cars should stand, curiously slanted. Glancing out the rear window of the car, I spotted a red 4-story apartment building. And then, my child's mind failed to comprehend why anyone would want to draw those lines slanted. Now that I think about it, it was probably to make it easier to park cars driving in reverse gear. However, I moved from that apartment before I could get my own car, so I never had the chance to test if it was worth sacrificing 1 or 2 potential parking spaces for a bit of extra comfort. "That's our new home," said my mother. Are you still sulking over it?" She let out a sigh as I focused my attention on the view outside, refusing to look her in the eye. "You'll make new friends here right away." "What if I don't?" "Look how many houses there are. Plenty of children living here, I'm sure." There's a park behind this building. You can go take a look." My mother turned the ignition key to stop the engine and got out of the car. She then opened the door on the opposite side of me and began unloading our bags. I suddenly noticed a small girl walking in front of our new house. She was carrying a red bucket and a trowel. She circled around the building, disappearing behind it. As I got out of the car, I started running after her. I heard my mother's voice from behind. "Hey, Takako, where are you going?" "I'll go look at that park." That's what we tell her. But is that really what we do? Prologue. Clover Design Office. Okay. Let. A? Good, okay. I guess I can pause it by pressing A. I saw her jet black locks flickering through the slits of my half-closed eyelids. Sachiko turned to me as I extended my hand, her long black hair swinging in the air. She gave me her hand in response. I could feel moist warmth from her palm. Even without looking, I could feel her familiar, slender fingers intertwining with mine. As I absent-mindedly gazed at her, she parted her lips. Oh, jeez. What are you thinking? I tried to remember when we last held hands like this. As I did, the memories of how we went to festivals came flooding into my mind. Which festival? The one we went to back in kindergarten, or was it elementary school? The same one where we got all those goldfish. I'm pretty sure that wasn't the last time we held hands. Do you remember how many fish we got? Was it 20 or so? It didn't go that high. I think it was either 18 or 19. When I came back after looking around some other shops, I found your bowl so full of fish they could barely fit in anymore. You bought me a caramel apple back then, right? Did I? Honestly, I was more shocked by how eager you were to keep catching goldfish despite your scooping paper already being in shambles. Scooping paper? I was waiting for it to dry up. Does that actually work? I mean, it'll just get wet the moment you stick it back into the water. Sounds like a waste of time to me. Patience is exactly what you need to win that game. She considered the space above me for a second. Something wrong? You said it was around 20, but I'm pretty sure we only brought one bag with us on our way back. You were only allowed to take up to 3 with you. Oh. Well, that really was a waste of time then. But I could choose the cutest and most energetic ones. Good for you. One lived for quite a long time. I still remember having it around the time I got into middle school. Was it that black one with the long tail? Yeah, it lived for so long, I even gave it a name. Was it Belle or something? Was it? Didn't you say it reminded you of a temple's bell? Don't me. Oh yeah, I remember there always being one goldfish in the water tank, but then it disappeared right alongside the tank itself. Did it get sick? I think it was mold or something. One day I realized that it had some sort of weed growing foam in its scales. I tried plucking it out, but Sachiko knitted her eyebrows. They grew right back. I think it suffocated in the end. Is that really mold? I found a book about goldfish diseases sometime later. It said that weed doesn't grow on a live fish, but in the case of goldfish, it can grow on mold that gets stuck between its scales. The book even explained how to fix it. Would have been nice if you found that book earlier. Yeah. I closed my eyes and listened to the silence, but it was so overwhelming I ended up opening my mouth again. You think that goldfish resented its master for being unable to cure even a simple disease like that? I don't know. What do you think? I don't know either. I love that goldfish, though. I haven't kept another fish since. Liked how elegant it looked as it swam with its long tail behind it. When I got it at that festival, it wasn't that long, but then it grew really fast. It was really different from the others. I see. Odd, I want to say, that where the usual spasm woke me up. My ears were ringing. Lying atop my bed in the fetal position, I prepared myself to endure its ever-loudening sound. I checked the clock next to my pillow. It hadn't even been an hour since I went to sleep. Ooh. The room was weakly illuminated by a lone light bulb. Soon enough, the string next to the light bulb entered my vision. As I stared intently at the plastic knob at the end of the string, I began to feel like it started to move. It grew bigger and bigger, drawing closer to me at a terrible speed before finally disappearing. What? I looked away, only to be met with noise even more unbearable. I closed my eyes and covered my ears, stiffening my entire body, waiting for the storm to pass. I remembered a surefire way to fall asleep quickly, a trick taught to me by my friend. I had to imagine myself floating on the surface of an empty sea. Yet right now, a storm was ravaging my personal sea, making it less than ideal place for relaxation. I felt sick, tremendously so. I don't know why it sounded like TV fuzz there. It was interesting. Maybe that's insanity? SeaBed! Maybe she's insane. Sachiko. I turned the page. I clutched the book so the wind blowing between the school building and the concrete wall wouldn't flip the page back again. I had my own special space behind the campus. A gloomy little place that always felt a bit damp. Still, few people ever ventured there, so I could always trust it to be silent. The door to the emergency exit behind me suddenly opened. The girl that came through approached me and leaned over to inspect that I had been reading. Found you. Do you want something? I shifted my gaze to the tall schoolgirl. Takako's familiar face was mere centimeters away from mine. She carried some water in her cupped palms. It seeped through her slender fingers, a few drops traveling down her white arms, peeking out the skimpy summer school uniform. Adjusting the position of my glasses, I considered Takako's face. Even bowing down, she seemed very tall. You just can't get enough of places like this, can you? First it was on the school building's emergency staircase, then behind the judo hall, and later at the library's veranda, where no one ever goes. How do you even find these places? Makes me wonder if you're some kind of different species compared to the rest of us. Takako drew away from me, leaving a trail of drops behind her, until she finally unloaded her palmful of water on a bush of white clovers. I doubt it really needs you watering it. Well, it's just that. Otherwise, it wouldn't feel like it's mine. Once she had finished watering the plant, she swept back her long twin tails in a single irritated motion. She only adopted that hairstyle near the beginning of this month and still appeared to have trouble making both tails the same length. Ooh, new to the Sailor Moon look? Did you know that the Japanese name for the white clover comes from the fact it was used as a cushioning material for packaging glassware? Oh? Don't you think it would be way cooler if your parcels were filled with white clovers instead of bubble wrap? I guess so. Though you shouldn't write off bubble wrap like that. It's pretty great to play around with when you're bored. Yeah. You looked up its name? I imagine it might have some deeper meaning since it was a present from you. It doesn't. I see. By the way, the weather is great today, so what are you doing reading in a place like this? I'm here precisely because the weather is good. If it wasn't, I would be at the library instead. If you keep sitting in that murky place like this all the time, you're gonna rot alive. That's not how the real world works. I mean, like, mentally. I won't do that either. Speaking of which, your cousin Anne with the your cousin Anne has psychic powers, right? When I told her you keep reading books in places like this, who gave you permission to spread rumors about me? She said that they all gave her shivers, as in she can't even get close to any of them. And this one spot behind the campus is like the worst of them all. I guess that's why I never feel lonely being here, even by myself. Hey, now, that's not how a normal person should react to that. So anyway, I actually went out of my way to find a much better place for you than this, and it's just as quiet. Oh, really? You can actually get some sunlight there, and a pleasant breeze to boot. Does such a convenient place really exist? I'll show you. I stuck a bookmark in between the pages with a sigh, closed my book, and followed Takako. We began climbing the staircase of School Building 4, going all the way up to the 4th floor and beyond until we reached the door leading to the roof. A steel lock was keeping it shut, though. Keep an eye out for anyone coming. Takako drew closer to the small window and began fiddling with the lock using a hairpin she produced from her pocket. After she was done with that, she grabbed the frame of the window and started shaking it, filling the corridor with clattering noise. It let out a final, loud rattle before its lock sprung out of its place with a click. Takako opened the small window and, planting her foot on the windowsill, jumped through. She turned around and extended a hand, signaling me to follow her. Frowning, I exhaled a sigh, but that didn't faze her in the slightest. Sheepishly, gave her my hand, and after taking a step on the windowsill, was pulled outside. A cool breeze swept across the roof. I could feel it caressing my hair as I closed my eyes, unable to stand the brightness. Oh, hi. Young love blossom. You weren't lying about the weather. I opened my eyes to see Takako looking around the roof. Right? So what do you think? Well, it's not bad. That much I can give you. But are you sure no one will come? Well, the door is locked, so I moved to the deeper end of the roof, closer to the area behind the campus, sat down on one of the benches there, and opened my book. Oh, lovely. I feel like every Japanese school has this kind of roof, according to anime. With our school building located on the mountainside, I could oversee most of our part of town and even the sea in the distance. The blue sky extended from the one edge of the sea to the next. Takako shifted her gaze from the athletics field to me. Remember the baseball field right in front of our clubroom? You ever heard the story about how the ground is soft between the home plate and the pitcher's mound? Can't say I have. Takako's facial expression told me she was about to start a really amusing story. I merely gave her a sideways glance and returned to my book without a moment's delay. We all tried digging up that ground yesterday. What do you think we found? I have no idea. Oh, we didn't really expect to find anything at first, but when we actually dug the hole, we came upon these cartons of boxed milk. Her eyes sparkled with excitement as she made a broad gesture trying to convey the amount they had found. Who buried all that crap out there? No idea. I guess someone who didn't like the milk. You can't just flush it down the toilet or something? Why go through all the trouble of burying it? Takako placed a finger on her lip. Then maybe it was a trap or something. How did you fill your trap with milk? Well, it's funny for starters. Fall into that and you'll be soaked in wet goop. But you said the ground only had become soft, right? That doesn't sound like something someone would fall into it. I don't know. It makes me wonder what they really wanted to achieve. Got any ideas, Sachi? A ritual to express one's hatred of milk, perhaps. Beshrew the milk, harbinger of woe. Harbinger of woe. Takako uttered the words with faked solemnity. The breeze shuffled across the roof again. I could hear the clamor of students from the athletics ground. Ah, our class is using the basketball hoop. Don't you want to play with us there sometime? No. Why? It's not like you can't play. I don't like getting sweaty or dirtying my clothes. Then what about the gym? I guess I could play hide and seek if you insisted. Yeah, right. It's just an excuse for you to return to that gloomy old place behind the campus. I'm on to you. Takako sat down next to me on the bench with a sigh. What are you reading? She posed that question to me following a brief silence. I raised the hand that held my paperback so that the cover would be right in front of Takako's eyes. She considered it for a few moments. You always keep reading old stuff. I didn't react, so she continued. You don't read any recent bestsellers. I prefer older books. It was probably because my mother's family's home had a bunch of them lying around. As a child, I'd spend hours reading in my grandmother's room every time I went to visit. But one day, all the books vanished, along with the whole shelf. They said they wanted to make the room feel more spacious. Now that they weren't easily accessible anymore, I felt an even stronger urge to read them. But since I didn't care much for anything other than the plot when I was little, I could remember neither the titles nor the authors. All I knew was that they were in reddish-brown cases that also served as appendices, that they lined 3 rows on the bookshelf, and that all of them were written by different authors. When I asked my grandparents, it turned out that all those books belonged to my distant uncle, and not even they knew much more about them. I tried asking my mother as well, but that didn't yield any results either. She wasn't exactly thrilled with the idea of me reading those kinds of books in the first place. Thanks to Takako's insistent questions, I ended up remembering that particularly frustrating episode of my life and was completely taken out of the world of the book I was reading. I get that, but I was just wondering exactly what you like about them. What kind of books do you like in general? The kind that make you want to keep reading even if something had gotten into your eye. But Takako probably wouldn't be satisfied with such a vague answer. What about you? I like whatever that's interesting, I guess. I thought you wanted to know what made those books interesting. I like the kind that make you want to keep reading even if something had gotten into your eye, Takako said. I spontaneously responded with a frown. I could feel my entire face having "Are you for real?" written all over it. So what exactly do you like about old books, Sachi? Their atmosphere, I guess. I see. As I remained silent, Takako added that she felt the same way. The world they take place in is different enough from ours to feel fresh. Yeah, I suppose that's true. I'm also curious about how society worked before I was born. I think they had a lot more things back then. What do you mean? What kind of things? Well, like politics and economics and movies and music, I guess. Isn't that because you just listen to pop music that always sounds the same? Well, I guess that could be it. But the way I see it, the past was a little more chaotic than the present. They had tons of different thoughts and came up with a bunch of different ideas. I'd say the world is just as chaotic right now. We probably just don't know it because we're still children. That could be true. Although I had to agree with the notion of being curious about the world of the past. I loved listening to the stories of my grandparents, and they in turn loved telling them, introducing me to a whole host of words and feelings I'd never known before. Like the title of a song I'd never heard about, or this accident I never knew happened. Even if I listened to that song now, I wouldn't be feeling the same things my grandparents did in their time. Listening to stories like that made me feel like something important in me was fastened shut with a heavy lid. Takako nodded in agreement. She said that must be curiosity. I answered with a sigh. It's just like that hole I told you about. Could you not liken my hobbies to rotten milk? I shot an exasperated look at Takako's satisfied expression before returning to my book. Is that book fun? I feel like you've already asked that. Hey, all you told me was that you like old books. Now I'm asking you about this one specifically. Well, I guess it's not bad. Oh yeah. Have you finished that book I lent you yet? I'm still reading it. I'm about halfway through, I think. So you must be at the part where... wait. Maybe I was more like a quarter in, actually. I see. Withdrawing her face from mine, she leaned against the bench. Something's flying over there. Takako narrowed her eyes, looking somewhere far in the sky. There was a large bird sailing through the blue canopy above us. It's a black kite. Someone's flying a kite? That's a bird, you know. You think it's gonna go over the mountain? I don't think so. Isn't it just looking for prey? I had this weird dream the other day, like I went beyond the mountains surrounding our town and all I found was just endless grass and shallow puddles of water. A huge marsh, basically. Have you ever been outside of this town? No. Maybe that's why. Those mountains sometimes look like prison walls holding us inside. Well, you should just go wherever you want once you grow up. I turned the page. Let's go overseas then. Good luck with that. You're coming too. It sounds like a pain in the neck. Takako let out a chuckle. I know you actually want to go. And why would you think that? Well, I've known you for a long time. Ha. Don't underestimate your childhood friends. Takako's raised voice prompted me to instinctively cover my ears, nearly causing me to drop the book I'd been reading. Why did you rephrase that? Did you actually think that line sounded cool? Takako's cheeks flushed, a light hue of red. That's why you repeated yourself. Not really. The sun rays dancing across the blue sky above warmed my exposed knees. We only have 5 classes today, right? Seeing how it's Wednesday. So let's go see a movie after school, or we can do karaoke if you want. I've been having a sore throat lately, so I can't do karaoke. Any good movies on right now? Well, there's that. Well, there's, the one we talked about last week. Never heard of a movie called that. It's that, it's on the tip of my tongue. So, what is it? You keep urging me, so I forgot now. Hey, don't make it my fault. You never even knew it in the first place, did you? Well, you have time to remember until school is over. Do you remember the final song we did the last time we went to karaoke? I do. I was on my bike heading home when I got to a traffic light. I checked if no one was around and started singing it to myself, only to realize there was a biker parked right behind me. Boy, was that embarrassing. Is that so? But I'm not going to karaoke today. I have a sore throat. I was trying to say I wanted to go. So you just wanted to tell the story? Yeah, I see. Good for you. Huh. This has been a half hour of power of SeaBed. I'm going to consider that another chapter completed there. Oh my god. And now I finally unlock things. Who knows what this even means? Huh. I'm liking this music so far. I don't know what the tips menu would be. I'm gonna save it though. because it looks like I can definitely change things. Cool. Yeah. I wonder what tips means. Yeah, let's see what the tip is. Oh, I guess it's another story? I guess this is just another story that somehow unlocked. I don't know what gallery has now. This is interesting though. Like you just get pictures that all feel fairly creepy to me. So this is SeaBed. I've been Seth Trav. Let me know if you want me to keep reading the story. If you've gotten into it, I will continue reading this entire game until something more so happens and we can see this love here blossom. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Seth Trav. I want to remind you to always practice what you preach.